In our village, there was one unbreakable rule. Never ever whistle in the woods after dark. No one ever said why. In our village, there was one unbreakable rule. Never ever whistle in the woods after dark. No one ever said why. They'd just press their lips together in a thin, grim line and glance toward the forest as if the trees themselves had ears. But I was 13, and I was bored out of my mind. My grandmother's old house groaned with every gust of wind, and of course the power had gone out again. That meant no Wi-Fi, no TV, just the crackle of the fireplace, a whistling kettle on the stove, and the unnerving silence of the mountains pressing in. My cousin Luca, a year older and twice as reckless, decided it was the perfect time to whisper the forbidden legend. "You know what they say," he smirked. "Whistle after sunset, and Labubu will hear you. If he likes your song, he'll follow you home. But if he doesn't, he'll take your mouth." We both laughed it off, but a shiver I couldn't explain traced its way down my spine. Later that night, standing on the porch, a wave of defiance washed over me. Just to prove I wasn't scared, I puckered my lips and whistled. 3 short, sharp notes that sliced through the night air and vanished into the trees. For a moment, everything was completely still. I shrugged, turned, and went back inside, feeling foolish. That night, I woke up to a scratching sound. Not from the windows or the door. It was coming from inside the walls. A slow, deliberate drag like long claws scraping against dry wood. I shook Luca awake, my heart pounding. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. He listened for a second, then scoffed. "You're just hearing things." He rolled over and was snoring again in minutes. But the sound didn't stop. It moved. From the walls to the ceiling, and then from under my bed. My breath hitched. With a trembling hand, I grabbed my flashlight and leaned over the edge of the mattress, sweeping the beam across the dusty floorboards. Nothing. I clicked the light off and fell back onto my pillow, trying to calm my racing heart. That's when I saw them. 2 enormous, glossy eyes staring down at me from the ceiling, unblinking, utterly inhuman. And then I heard it. A perfect mimicry of my own whistle, the same 3 short notes. I was paralyzed with fear. The eyes blinked once, slowly, and a faint, wet giggle echoed in the small room. It sounded like a child. I finally found my voice and screamed. By the time my grandmother rushed in, the eyes were gone. Luca, now wide awake and pale, confessed he'd heard the whistle too, from right inside the room. We searched every inch of the house, but found nothing. But there, on the outside of my bedroom window, was a muddy handprint. It was small, with unnaturally long fingers that ended in what looked like claws. The next day, the villagers wouldn't even look at us. They'd cross the street to avoid me. One old man finally cornered me, his voice a low hiss. "You whistled, didn't you?" Labubu never forgets a tune. That night, Luca vanished. There was no sign of a struggle, no broken window, no footprints in the mud outside. just an empty bed. And resting on his pillow was a single, long yellowed tooth and a note scrawled in dirt. Wrong song. I wanted to run, to get as far away from that village as I could, but my grandmother grabbed my arm, her grip like iron. "You started this," she said, her voice grim. "You have to be the one to end it." She finally told me the whole truth. Labubu was real, a creature of pure mischief and malice, older than the village itself. It was drawn to sounds, voices, songs, cries, and it especially loved the silence that followed when those sounds were cut short. There was only one way to banish him. I had to go into the forest alone. I had to whistle the same tune, and I had to give him something he couldn't steal. So the next night, as a thick mist rolled in from the mountains, I walked into the woods. The silence was deafening. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I whistled once, twice, 3 times. The forest answered first with a sudden gust of wind that rustled every leaf. Then with that same chilling, childlike giggle. And then he appeared, Labubu. He was small, barely reaching my waist, with a hunched back and covered in coarse matted fur. His eyes were far too big for his head, and his mouth stretched into a wide grin, revealing teeth like broken piano keys. He was wearing a tattered child's coat, and the buttons blinked like tiny, watchful eyes. "Sing it again," he rasped, swaying back and forth. I took a step back, holding out a silver locket. It was my mother's. "I brought you a song," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "A real one, not mine." Inside the locket was a photo of my mother and a tiny recording of her humming a lullaby. Labubu snatched it from my hand. He clicked it open, and as the faint, tinny melody drifted into the air, he smiled. A true, genuine smile, and in the blink of an eye, he was gone. I returned home. Luca was never found. I never whistled again. But sometimes on cold, quiet nights, I can still hear a tune drifting from the trees. My melody, but twisted, just a little off-key, and it's always followed by a soft, quiet laugh. Because Labubu never forgets a voice, he just waits for it to break. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there.